So welcome to 2021, and if you're into budget PC building or are looking to get into PC gaming on the cheap, it's really a bad time right now to be looking into that sort of thing because frankly, the market is all over the place with several different components. But today we're going to be focused on the GPU market in particular, and I'm going to try to help you determine what used GPU may actually be best for your upcoming build, knowing that you probably can't get a hold of anything brand new right now, or at least nothing brand new at reasonable prices. So I'm hopefully going to give you a couple of tools to get up and running in PC gaming on a somewhat cheap budget, though again, everything is a little bit higher in cost than I would love to see it right now, but I want to point you in the right direction with a lot of these sort of mid-range used GPUs. So we're going to take a look at that. So right now on the used market, there are a lot of GPUs out there from the past several generations, especially on the NVIDIA side, but even on the AMD side, there are valid GPUs that could get you up and running at 1080p gaming for not too much money and give you really nice frame rates, even in some of the most demanding modern AAA titles. And every card in this sort of little roundup is going to be perfectly capable of running pretty much everything out there, including Cyberpunk 2077, at least at 1080p. Now, before I get too much into the methodology of how I took a look at the current market, I do want to know down below, those of you that have gotten a used GPU for an actually good price in the recent, I don't know, month or two, let us know in those comments down below what GPU you picked up and at what price. Was it a local deal? Was it an eBay deal? Where did you pick it up? That might help some people out there that are looking into getting into PC gaming sort of figure out where they need to go to find some of these types of good deals. Now, if we look right now at AMD and NVIDIA's newest cards, the Ampere cards on NVIDIA side and the RDNA 2 cards on the AMD side, there's really nothing in the lower-ish end of those two lineups right now. Now, I do fully expect those cards to be coming down the road here in 2021, but right now NVIDIA and AMD are really just trying to pump out their higher end cards, which are completely selling out as soon as they hit the market. So I don't think NVIDIA and AMD are really prioritizing these lower margin cards on the sort of mid-range end of GPUs and all the way down to the lower end GPUs. They're just not a priority right now, and this is typically what we see when we have these new GPU launches. These companies start with their highest end cards and then they work their way down the stack to the lower end cards later on, and it's no surprise that AMD and NVIDIA are doing that right now, especially on AMD's side, where they're not only running new GPUs, new CPUs, but also the new consoles are out too. So AMD, working with TSMC, they probably can't really pump out much more in the way of parts in general, so they're going to be wanting to sell those higher end parts because those are also higher margin parts in general. So I don't really blame these companies for not having anything on the lower end from their newer generation cards, but understand they are on the way. So when we talk about mid-range and lower end cards, really we're stuck right now, at least on the NVIDIA side of things, with something like a GTX 1660 Ti all the way down to the GTX 1650, and those are the basis for the comparisons that you're going to see a little bit later on. Basically what I did here is I went onto eBay and tried to find the cheapest 1660 Ti, 1660 Super, 1660, 1650 Supers, and 1650s, and this is all in USD. And of course, if you're in a different area of the world outside of the United States, your market may vary wildly from what you're seeing here, but basically all of these cards are extremely expensive, even on the used eBay market, for what these cards are, as pretty much everything new is gobbled up. We're basically left over with people's old cards that, some of these people are just trying to cash in and get some money back out of these GPUs while they're still worth a whole lot of money. And frankly, if I had one of these GPUs that I had been gaming on for a while, it would be a serious consideration, where if you unload it now and get this sort of prime value out of these cards, you can then just square that money away and buy a new card a little bit later in the year when they're actually available. So I don't really blame people for trying to sell their cards for these really high prices, but this is the market that we live in here in early 2021. So the next step was to identify several cards out there that are actually reasonable values right now that can give you performance somewhat similar to some of these newer generation cards from NVIDIA. So on the NVIDIA side of things on the used market, the 10 series is also very expensive. So 1060s and 1070s, 1080s, those cards are still very expensive on eBay, but the 900 series is much more affordable. So what I targeted here was the 980 Ti's, the 980s, and the 970s, because those cards, while much cheaper than the 10 series, or in this case the 16 series especially, they do still give you very good frame rates at 1080p gaming. And then on the AMD side of things, I was really targeting some of their older cards as well, because some of those more recent cards are also still more expensive. So we're looking at the tried and true RX 580 8GB and RX 580 4GB cards. All of those cards I just listed, once again, can play Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p, no problem at all, and obviously pretty much every other AAA title out there as well. Now this chart is a little bit more complicated than the previous one because I've thrown in more information. Now in green you see NVIDIA cards, in red you see AMD cards, and just like before, we have the rough pricing from eBay, and obviously this market is very volatile, so those prices may fluctuate quite a bit by the time you actually get around to looking at eBay, but those are the prices that I was able to find right now. And as we start at the top of the chart with the GTX 1650, this is roughly the worst performing card of the entire bunch, and as you work your way down the chart, clear down to the 1660 Ti, roughly performance gets better with each step. Now, because I was relying on third parties to get the rough comparisons between these different cards, and because cards are often title dependent, this may vary a little bit, but roughly the 1650 is the least performing card and the 1660 Ti is the best performing card of the bunch. And what you're trying to do here, if you're looking for a used GPU, is find an area further down the chart where you're not actually paying a lot of money. So some of the great candidates in this chart that I found after putting it together is the GTX 970 is an absolutely excellent value right now on the used market. You can pick them up routinely for $140-ish right now, maybe slightly more if you catch a bad day where you can find them only for about $150, but they're still an excellent value at that slot, and they're much better than something like a GTX 1650 Super that is much more expensive on eBay. Even jumping up to the GTX 980, that's also a very good value here in this chart. Now the RX 580 8GB continues to be one of those cards that just will not go away, and that's probably because so many of them flooded the market after the last mining rush, but they're still very affordable at $200-ish on eBay for the 8GB variant, and they do give you very good performance. Usually, at least in everything that I saw, they top the GTX 980 by just a little bit. Now, if you're wanting a little bit more of a premium experience, the GTX 980 is there, or rather the 980 Ti is there, but it's also getting into that stepping where we're seeing a fairly normal increment between the 580 8GB to the 980 Ti to the GTX 1660 to the 1660 Super and the 1660 Ti. So I don't really know that it's an excellent value there, but it also does occupy an area of the used market that definitely needs a card sitting there. So for $250, that's actually not a terrible deal either. It is also worth noting that if you're looking for just a little bit more performance, you can pick up a GTX 1070, usually between that $250 and $300 price. So the 980 Ti is definitely starting to approach the 1070 pricing, and knowing that the 1070 is not only a newer architecture in general, but also has a little bit more VRAM, you might just be better off if you're at that $250 price point, jumping up to a GTX 1070, which is going to give you a nice little bump in performance as well. But if you're looking to spend sort of sub $300, then the areas that you should really be looking at are that GTX 970 if you're just looking for something to get up and running at 1080p gaming, or if you're looking to get some really solid frame rates in the vast majority of games running most AAA titles on high settings at 1080p, that RX 580 8GB continues to be a champion of the price to performance realm for PC gaming. And for a lot of you out there, this is going to be a stopgap card that you're purchasing here in early 2021, where you're probably looking forward to the next generation of GPUs coming from NVIDIA and AMD. They're just not out yet, or they are out and they're not really available yet. So if you're looking for that stopgap solution just to get yourself up and running, those sort of indentations in the chart as you go down, those 970s, 580s, or even the 980 there, are all really good options, and you should really be avoiding cards like the 1650 Super, which is just completely overpriced for what it is right now, and really even things like the 1660, 1660 Super, and 1660 Ti, they're not great values considering what's coming down the road, and knowing that you're starting to get into that territory of spending $300 or even $400 for a card that in the very near future is going to be decidedly last generation from NVIDIA. Now, as we work our way further into 2021, hopefully the used market and the new market start to stabilize a little bit as supply catches up to demand. Hopefully we get back into that situation where you can get completely awesome cards like an RX 580 at much cheaper prices, because remember, it wasn't that long ago that you could actually pick up an 8GB 580 for something like $110-ish, pretty much all day long on eBay. And you could get the 4GB version of the 580 all the way down at like sometimes $80 or even $90, somewhere in that range, and once in a while you would actually find them even cheaper. Now, my recommendation for those of you out there that are looking to grab a used GPU as a stopgap solution, check out your local used market, because a lot of times, especially if you're in a bigger area, you're going to be able to find the deals on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, those types of places. You're going to find better deals than you'll find on eBay, because remember, eBay is a nationwide market if you're in the United States. We're talking more of a global market as we get outside of the United States, to the point where you're really competing with everyone else, not just in your local area. Whereas in your local area, somebody might decide that they just want to get something out of their hands quickly and get some cash in their hands, and those are where you find by far the absolute best deals. And also keep in mind, on eBay, sometimes patience pays off, where if you're in an auction setting that doesn't have a buy it now option, you can sometimes find a little bit cheaper prices as well. I was looking mostly at the just buy it now options, because that's the easiest way for me to look at what the cards are actually available for if you just want to click buy it now and get it on its way to your house. But those are right now my recommendations for the used market if you're looking for those stopgap GPUs. Of course, keep letting me know in those comments down below what's working for you out there. Those of you that are building at a really rough time to be building a gaming PC right now, where are you finding your deals? What types of deals are you finding out there? Let us know all your thoughts in those comments down below. And of course, if you like this content, you want to see more like it, give this video a like, share, subscribe, comment. All those things are very helpful for the channel. You can find me both on Twitter and on Instagram at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.